G'day folks. Well, this is going to be one of the most unique and interesting unboxings I think, and I hope that you will have seen from me. That there is not part of the unboxing, it's just a puzzle I've put on top of the box to give you an idea of the scale of what I'm talking about here. So it's probably not going to be a traditional unboxing in that I'm not just going to pull the puzzles out of the box one by one in this video in one hit, because they deserve more than that. So I'm going to take my time with it and make sure that I give each puzzle the attention it deserves as far as I can. Without further ado, let me get this thing open. Now, as far as I've been led to believe, there's going to be 9 puzzles in here. And I want to make sure that I pull one in particular out to begin with, because that's the one that I'm most keen to see. Let me just dig around in here for a little bit. Now, I may have bandied about the term monster and beast in my most recent video, which was the 𝙏𝙄𝙈𝙄𝙉𝙂𝙎, the crazy 𝙏𝙄𝙈𝙂𝙎 tutorial. I kept referring to that thing as a monster and a beast. I was wrong. This is a monster of a puzzle, and I have no doubt this is going to implode my brain. This, if you haven't worked it out, is called Eitan's Nebula. Now, the first thing is, I really hope I got the pronunciation of his name correct. I think it's Eitan. And this is Eitan Cher, better known as the inventor of Eitan's star. Well, you can see here Eitan's star. This is the mass-produced one from MF8. And this was an incredibly challenging puzzle. When I solved it, I didn't even use jumbling. I think I was aware that it jumbled, but I didn't bother because it was so difficult just on its own. And this now just looks, I won't say trivial, but compared to this, what is going on? This is a master version of this Eitan star. Wow. Just as I turn it around there and have a bit more of a look at it, you can see that the grouping of colours, I think that's very, very sensible to group these very similar colours together so that you're not thinking you've got a piece that belongs over here when it's actually over here on the other side. So that is why that has been done, I'm sure of it. And the same sort of thing with the oranges and the reds and that sort of thing close together, and the blues and the greens. So if I was doing it, I wouldn't have been that smart. I would have tried to put a white opposite a grey or something, who knows. In any event, before I talk about this puzzle too much, I just want to give you some background to what is going on here. No, these are not my puzzles. I'm not buying these puzzles. Well, maybe one or two, but we'll talk about that soon. Essentially what happened is that recently I got in touch with Eitan again, and we were talking about a video that I was going to be doing where I was going to be mentioning the Eitan star. And I asked him whether he had any other puzzles of his own for sale. And we got talking, and he said, look, there's potentially 1 or 2, maybe 3, depending on what happens, but how about this? Would you like to borrow some? Well, you know what I said, and we got to discussing how that would work and all the rest of it. So what he's done is send me over a box, as you know, with 9 puzzles in it, one of which is this one. He did give me a sheet with details of stuff. I'm not going to read from that sheet. It's more for me to make sure that I don't miss anything out. But he did say this as a general what's going on, because I know that some of you are going to be saying, well, are any of these for sale for us? How can I get my hands on one of these things? So this is from the inventor himself. For the last 7 or so years, I've been busy with work, life, and my other hobbies, and I only occasionally get time to work on a new puzzle these days. I might someday get a Shapeways store or something similar up and running, but it's not a high priority in my life right now. So when Arline reached out to me about my puzzles, I thought it would be fun to get them in the hands of such an accomplished puzzler for a time. That's very nice, thank you. So I decided to send him a box of puzzles that would otherwise be sitting on my shelf, collecting dust, never getting solved. And in return, maybe he can teach me how to solve some of my craziest puzzles. Should be fun. It should indeed be fun. And that's one of the things that I always struggled to understand, how people that designed puzzles wouldn't know how to solve them. And then I thought, wait a minute, you can solve puzzles, but you don't know how to design them. And that's true. I have no clue about designing puzzles. I think it's amazing what they do. So if I can help in solving some of these, I'll be really satisfied with that. A couple of things to point out before we get going. All 9 of these puzzles are puzzles by Eitan Cher. So he has designed them, printed them, and even though not all of them bear his name, they are all his. The second thing is that I'm going to be bumbling around a little bit, and I'm sure many of you will know straight away when I put a puzzle in front of the camera, you'll say, oh, that's the And I have to say there are 2 mystery puzzles in this box, and I don't know what they are, and he's deliberately not told me. I've got to figure them out if I can. So again, you guys will probably know what they are, but I'm looking forward to them. The last thing is that if it ever seems like there's problems with the puzzles, or I don't know, they don't turn as they should or something like that, I guarantee you it will not be the puzzle. It'll be me and my lack of familiarity with the puzzle. So I'm really excited about this opportunity to go, hey, I would love to have a look through these puzzles, try my hand at, well, obviously scrambling and solving some of them. There are others that are already scrambled, and we'll go through them. But I hope that gives you a little bit of background as to what is going on here. Why do I have all these puzzles? In a few months' time, when I've had a good play, I'll be sending them back to him, and I think it's fabulous that he's done it, and public thanks to him for doing that. So this is the Eitan's Nebula. As I said, it's a master Eitan star. It's a face-turning, can I even say this correctly? Face-turning icosahedron. It's an icosahedron because it's got the 20 sides, and each side is a triangle. So you can see that it's turning on the faces here, but what you can also see is that there's this slice turn as well. Now that's quite a thin slice, so I'm still not sure whether when I start playing with this, the best way would be to kind of hold a face and try and turn it with a finger. Not sure that I should do that. Might be better to be doing a slice turn like that and then turning the face back. Where does that go? About there. So this, I suspect, will take quite a bit of time just to scramble. I don't want to be harsh with the puzzle. I want to treat it carefully. And being a puzzle that is not mass produced, often these are a little bit more fragile. So you've got to be, you know, extra careful. And obviously I don't want to damage what has been lent to me. So in terms of the general turning, you can see, you can kind of hear the sound that they make. It's quite different to a mass produced puzzle. What I'm a little concerned with just for myself is that doing that sort of thing and then it maybe clicks something here and knocks it out. So I'm definitely going to be as careful as I can doing this within the time constraints of wanting to do the solve in less than 1 day, as in 24 hours. Now, he said that this puzzle needs no introduction, and yeah, that's kind of true, but I do need to tell you this. There are 743 pieces in this thing, 920 stickers, 20 axes, it's an icosahedron, so 20 faces as well, 40 turning layers because there's 20 faces that turn, and then there's that slice layer as well on each face, and jumbling. Now the jumbling may or may not be trivial. In other words, as I said, with the Eitan star, I didn't jumble it at all because I was too scared, but I'm just going to attempt here to do what I think might lead to some jumbling. If I can get that, what I think happens is that turns, is it to there? It might be to there. I'm really not sure. That's got to turn like that. But where does it go to? And I'm just keeping in mind the slice. I want to keep the slice where it is at the moment. It looks like it should be about there. That seems to line up for me. Have I got this right? Don't damage it. Oh, that slice looks like it's trying to turn. Have I got it jumbling on a slice? Is it too far back? I can't even get one jumbling turn done. Let's try with a different face. And does that go there? Ooh, hello. Oh my goodness. The sound you can hear is the sound of my brain going, what have I done? So that Okay, so I can see that that there needs to line up with the face so it can turn off like that. Holy cow. I have no real clue what I've just got myself into. Now that's not even a slice turn jumbling. I'm assuming now that the slice will also jumble. If I can get that turned back to there. Now in order, what do? Get the slice, probably get the slice turned to where? There? I think I've gone too far for one slice turn. Let me have a look here. Maybe not. I'm positive the slice will jumble. I'm just not entirely sure how far I should turn it around. Well, I hope you're enjoying this. This could end up being a 1 hour video. That's going to go, if I turn that back to where it belongs, that looks like it then should turn off. You can see what I'm trying to do, and you can see what I can't do, because I just haven't had enough experience with it, and I'm doing it first time, so I haven't had a good play. But that is going to be a killer of a puzzle in anyone's language, and I'm not surprised that Eitan would like a solve video of this. Don't hold your breath. So that is Eitan's Nebula. This is definitely one of the coolest looking puzzles that I've ever seen. And yes, it does remind me of Spider-Man somehow. And this is called the Master Curvy Copter Plus. So as you might guess, it's a combination of a Master Curvy Copter and a Curvy Copter Plus. Now I don't have the Curvy Copter Plus anymore. I've got the Scooby Copter Plus, which is sort of similar. And the plus referring to these pieces here which have been cut up. So you can see the same sort of effect going on in these pieces here. But what's really interesting is it's a master version. So it's got these slice layers, just like we saw in the Nebula. So you can see that just that slice can turn. Now that automatically makes for a humongously more difficult puzzle, in my opinion, just with the slices. So clearly this is a jumbling puzzle, and I'm guessing it will jumble in exactly the same way as sort of a copter puzzle, if I've got this aligned correctly. Oop, I want to be careful about that, because these puzzles, they tend to, when they're not mass produced, they look like they're really flimsy, but it's not always that easy to break them. So I know that sounds a bit paradoxical, but I have had a couple of these in the past and they've been fine. So I've just got to get, maybe it's back there. A little tricky to see what's lining up where. I'm assuming it's going to turn, although that clearly is not lined up. So maybe it's got to be down to there, possibly. This feels better. Here we go. You can see that I did finally get there, and it is going to turn like that. But one thing I'm going to want to not do, and I'm just, look, if any of this seems like it's not turning well or whatever, it's not the fault of the puzzle. It's that I'm so paranoid about damaging something. I'm just being really, really, really paranoid and careful. So I'm obviously not going to want to grab it like this, which I would normally do on a curvy copter, and turn it. That is going to damage it. So that's just going to take a little bit of getting used to as to exactly where and how to turn these things. But you can see that the slice will jumble as well. If I then turn the outer, maybe I can turn it all the way around. So in the outer turn back, and just have that slice turn jumbling. Is that right? I'm totally lost already. What am I doing? Okay, it's matched up again. I'm happy about that. Turn that around like that. Bring this further on. Again, just being really paranoid here. Do not want to have some kind of major accident on camera. Well, I did finally get there, and you can see that if I then turn that back, once this is aligned, and that back, and turn that back, I can jumble those slices as well. This is going to be another killer of a puzzle. All right, well, the next one in the list is the edge-turning octahedron. This is one of the older puzzles that he made, as far as I know. It's probably the loosest of the puzzles, and I think that's potentially because it's had the most play with it. Now, the screws here are super easy to get to, and I did try tightening them, but what I found was there's a really, really fine point. You tighten it just a little bit too much, then it'll stop these things turning. So I just had to back off. It's probably not much different than what it was. It's not in any way bad, it just is noticeably a little bit looser than the others. But this is a really obviously very rare puzzle, the edge-turning octahedron. And to compare it, this is the mass-produced face-turning octahedron, or one of them anyway. So this is obviously the same shape, and it turns on the face of the octahedron. You might think, oh, well, so all these edge pieces are the same over here. But you'll notice in this edge, if we look at that as the edge, there's a very clear center part, and then we've got these two bits leading out to two corners on the end. Well, with this one, that is not the case. So when I'm looking at this edge here, it certainly does not just sort of jump over to that same thing. There's an edge there. You can see there is, in fact, no clear edge jumping over the top there. There's two separate pieces. In fact, everything goes into almost like a vanishing point here. And so it's not simply a copy of that, but turning on the edges. What it is essentially the same puzzle as a Curvy Copter 2. And everybody knows about the Curvy Copter, which was an amazing puzzle. The Curvy Copter 3 has been released, and the Curvy Copter Plus has been released, as in mass-produced. The Curvy Copter 2, to my knowledge, has never been mass-produced. What the Curvy Copter 2 did is essentially hide the edges of the original Curvy Copter and introduce centerpieces and sort of a cross around the centerpieces. So a middle centerpiece and then 4 pieces coming off that centerpiece. I'd love to show it to you. I don't have one. But that is kind of what this is. And so I was trying to look at this and say, how does this relate to that? I think what is going on is that on the Curvy Copter, the centerpieces are at the extremity of the turn. In other words, on the edge, the centerpieces are on the outside of the edge. And so when I'm turning this like that, I think those are analogous to the centerpieces. I'm happy to be corrected here, but if that's the case, if those are analogous to the centerpieces, then we've got, you can see a little white orange piece, white gold, gold green, orange green. Those are the 4 new pieces that have been introduced along with the center of the Curvy Copter. That's kind of how to look at this, as far as I can tell. And so that would mean that if I'm looking for the corners of the Curvy Copter and the petals, well, there's only 2 other bits that are left, and those corners must be these large bits. And the petals are these, what are they called? Triangles. Yeah, genius. So that's what I think is going on. And in terms of this one, I'm really looking forward to having a crack at this one as well. I don't think it's a simple puzzle. And I am going to just have a scramble of this. Now, before I scramble it, I must just try and remember, does this jumble? I think it does jumble because it's an edge turner. Let me see once again if I can embarrass myself and make this jumble. I move, what I'm thinking about when I'm jumbling is, let's say this one here, that's got to be able to turn like that somehow. So even if I move this piece down like this, I'm looking for something to line up a cut somewhere so this other one will still turn. I don't really see anything yet. Oh, that's possible, but I don't think that's going to do anything. Let's keep going. You can see that I've managed to do something, have I, here? There we go. I've just managed to jumble it on that one, which I wasn't intending to do, but let's pretend I was. Hey, that's cool. Now, if I keep turning this around a little bit more, I'm guessing that at some point, have I gone too far there? That's the bit that I want to be turning. Oh, I think it might be just back there. Beautiful. Okay, so you can see that's the kind of jumbling that is going on with this puzzle. If I turn it again, I've come back to that sort of normal state. And if I turn it again, I should be able to get to another point of jumbling, which I should know better. Is that it? No. How about that one? All right, so that, it's not going to be too hard to jumble it, I don't think. Once I get the hang of the turning of this thing, then we're back to normal. And in terms of combining that jumbling with the normal solve, I'm really not sure, again, what effect that jumbling will have. So I might give this a scramble actually. Now, is that one of the things that I have not untightened the corners or the screws? I think it is. Let me just do that. Much better. Okay, so that's the sort of thing I was talking about. I just gave a little tweak there and that's better. So if I was going to be scrambling this, I really shouldn't. I want to have a look at them before I do, but maybe I'm going to be not brave and not scramble it now. But of course, assuming I do get a solve going of these ones in a video, you will obviously see, I'll try and remember to include the scramble and everything like that in those videos. But you can see even that's 2 turns, there's a third, and it's already looking pretty good. So this holds a lot of interest for me, this puzzle. I mean, let's be honest, they all do, but I think I'm going to have a couple of favourites out of them. So that is the edge-turning octahedron. Well, the next puzzle is, I think, going to be potentially one of my favourites, if not the favourite. And there are a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is that it's nice and firm. You can see the difference, hopefully, already between this one and the previous one we looked at. This is not loose. And to me, that's just a really nice thing. I enjoy puzzles where things at least feel like they're nice and firm. The second one is that this is potentially the hardest puzzle of the lot. This one is called the edge-turning rhombic dodecahedron. So you can see that it's a dodecahedron having the 12 sides, and each side is in the shape of a rhombus, but instead of being able to turn the face like that, we're turning the edge like that. Now, one of the things that's perhaps putting me off the solve, or even attempting it, is that every move is a jumbling move. So the difference between that and something like this edge-turning octahedron, yes, I can jumble on this one, but I can do a move like that, which is not a jumbling move. So with this one here, we don't have any moves where we can sort of, you know, I can't turn this 180, I mean, I can. And what will happen is, in fact, that's not quite 180, is it? You can see. This will then turn off like that. Now, that's a jumbling move. There are no turns of any of these edges where it sort of locks back and fits into the shape of the puzzle until I get back to where I started. And so you can see that it's not just a matter of, oh, I'll just do some jumbling and then come back to where I started, because if you try and do something like that, so let's say we've jumbled over here and then I turn this one, well, this is going to turn to jumble somewhere else. Maybe that's jumbling over here, and then potentially, I'm wondering if there's another jumbling turn available, or whether it's just these ones on the edges. It can't just be those ones on the edges. That would be far too simple. And so where else can I jumble this thing? Looking at, oh, there's one there. That's going to take these things away. You can see that one. And the question for me would then be, okay, so I can separate these parts. I can separate these parts. How do we separate, let's say, this little orange-yellow piece here from this part? That would be another thing to look at. So all of that is the sort of thing I'm really looking forward to having a crack at, challenging myself with. And as I said at the start, there's 2 or 3 which are potentially available for me to buy. This is not one of them. And so part of my thinking is I'm going to try and concentrate initially on the ones that are not available for me to buy and keep. In case I really like them, I can at least go and say, hey, I've had a solve. So the edge-turning rhombic dodecahedron, really looking forward to this one. All right, well, this next one is called the Fang 10. And this is probably almost the strangest puzzle in the lot that I've seen. I've had a really quick look at each of them, just almost a look, literally. And what I've done is kept the camera zoom at the same level. So you can see this is huge compared to some of the others. And this puzzle is an edge-turning pentagonal dipyramid. And so you might remember some of the mass-produced dipyramids. There's the dipyramid and the super dipyramid. They're essentially 3x3 and 4x4 shape mods. This is nothing of the sort. So it's edge turning first of all. So it's turning like that. The next thing, and you probably will have guessed by now that Eitan might have a little thing about jumbling, because this is a jumbling only puzzle, just like the previous one we looked at. So an edge turning pentagonal dipyramid. It's clearly it's a dipyramid because there's sort of two pyramids, one on top of the other. And the pentagonal, well, there are essentially 5 sides here, or 5 edges. 1, which is the blue-red, 2, 3, and I get that aligned. There we go. 4 and 5. So that's what's going on there. Now, being jumbling only, again, there's never going to be a turn where this kind of comes back into place. It's always going to... My next turn is going to have to be somewhere here. And just in looking at this and thinking about, again, trying to make this one turn, you can see that cut there is, I think, what I'm looking at. Now, that one, initially I thought maybe, but no, that's definitely not going through. Have I missed a cut here, potentially? No, that's where we started. I'm really not sure how many times it jumbles as well. It may only be one stop to get to that next one. That's clearly going to be one of them. Now, of course, there'll be jumbling turns on the other edges. I'm just looking at this particular one. Now, I'm coming back to the end here, so I can't believe there's only one of them. There must be a second one, I would have thought. That's pointing almost at 90 degrees there. So there's going to be another one across here, like that. But there surely has to be something else. Now I have to say that's coming to an edge on the other side. I wonder if I can jumble it up here in a different way. That one's turning. Ah, there we go. So that looks like that's the other move available. So it's almost kind of dependent on whether you're jumbling it with a piece sort of adjacent on the same pyramid or on the opposite pyramid. And then my guess is once I start scrambling it properly, that may not even matter. And as per usual, I'll probably have very little idea of what's going on, certainly initially. Just trying to bring this around, see can we get another? Yes, we can. So there's, wow. I think the museum entry on the Twisty Puzzles forum says another 3D printed masterpiece with a strange geometry. You're not kidding. Now, one of the things about this that Eitan told me was that this puzzle was dyed, assembled and stickered about 10 years ago when he was doing some volunteering in Peru. And he was doing it with his host parents there. They had no idea what this was, clearly. I mean, I have no real idea either. And at the time, on the trip home, one of the big corners got crushed. So he just wants me to let you know, I think it's that corner there. You can kind of, maybe if the light's right, just see an indentation there. That's not a problem with the shipping that just happened. That was from there. So a lot of these puzzles, these are the only ones in existence, and these are the only ones that have been made. And so this is definitely one of the ones that he would like back. And he's put, yes, I'd like it back, definitely in a solved state. Feel free to use a screwdriver if you must. Okay, so that sounds like a challenge. That sounds like he's not overly confident that I'll solve it. And I'll be honest, neither am I. But I'm looking forward to it. So again, this is one of those ones that it doesn't feel loose. It feels really firm and sort of tight when you're turning it. So I'm very much looking forward to that one as well. All right, the next puzzle on the list is called the Groove Cube. That's right, the Groove Cube. It's pretty groovy. Couldn't resist. And I'll read what he's put. The goal of this puzzle is to solve the 2x2x2. So this is simply, I say, a 2x2x2, such that it slides effortlessly into the shell. Now, to demonstrate the fact that it's not solved now, that is not sliding effortlessly. That it's going a little bit, but boom, there's something stopping it. And if I try it this way, not even going like that, no, that's not in. So you can see that there's a whole bunch of sort of grooves and cuts and stuff. This is a really unique type of puzzle. And I've got to solve this 2x2 so that all the grooves match up and it just basically drops in. That's what's going on. So when solved, every groove will be fitted with exactly one shape. I've got to have a look at this. Exactly one shape. What does... I thought that would mean every little piece or bit here is unique, and maybe it is, but it doesn't quite look like it to me, because these look all the same, but I could just be... So I don't fully understand that one yet. Each groove's cross-section will be completely filled by the cross-section of the shape that goes into it. I think that means essentially, if I take this one here, this little triangular bit, I've got to somehow completely filled. You just think each groove's cross-section will be completely filled by the cross-section of the shape that goes into it. That makes me think that in there, that's got to be completely, it can't just be a little triangle here and a triangle further down. It must be all the way down. If that's the case, I'm not entirely sure how that's going to happen. So maybe I'm misinterpreting that. And the third rule, if there is any resistance to the puzzle sliding in, you haven't solved it. Now, as you can see, there's no resistance there, just dropping it to that point, but clearly that's where it does stop. So, as I said, this is a very, very strange, an interesting, a unique puzzle and a unique puzzle idea. I'm surprised this didn't get more traction when it was first released, because it's definitely a combination of a twisty puzzle and a logic puzzle, I would think. So anyway, I'll look forward to, and I might even try and do at least a couple of these solves as having never tried them before. That may be interesting, and that may also never see the light of day. We'll see. Okay, now we come to the first of the two mystery puzzles. So there are 3 puzzles to go. This is mystery puzzle number 1. And the only clues that he's given me are this. I'm sending this one in a scrambled state. Shouldn't be too hard to figure out what it is. So this is it. And the first thing that I would try and do in looking at what is this puzzle, as I said at the start, some of you might be looking at this going, I know exactly what that is. I don't. But I do notice there are layers, or it appears that there's a layer. In other words, it's some kind of, maybe a master version of something. So what I would try and do is say that looks like an obvious layer and face. So let's see if I can line things up so I can turn that, if it's not already lined up. There we go. So that is lined up to there. Here's another face. Does that turn straight away? Looks like it should. Okay, so I've clearly got... So the geometry of this doesn't look anything like the difficulty of some of those other puzzles that I had before. So what I might initially just attempt to do is line all the faces up, or all the centers up, so that everything turns, if I can make that happen. I'm not sure if I can. I'm just sort of thinking, where does that go there? Oh, that looks good. Okay. And that's the one I just lined up. What's weird about this straight away is that you can see, if I look at that pink piece sitting above this yellow center, it's raised a little bit, but it's not that much. Then this pink piece above the gold center is hardly raised at all. If I come around this way, the orange piece is indented. The purple piece above the red center is quite raised. Okay, that's weird. And you see that I'm talking about centers already, and I'm just having a quick look and going, this looks to me like some kind of dodecahedron. So if I look at, so those two as top and bottom, I've then got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 there, 5 here by the looks of it. Okay, so I'm pretty confident it's a dodecahedron. It's a master version of something. And I would love now to just try and get all faces turnable, and I'm not sure that they are yet. That's definitely not going to be turnable at the moment, I don't think. Or is it? Oh, okay. Maybe they are all in that state. Is that one? Something's blocking this one. It might be this yellow face. I'm not sure. So I can't really turn that. But then something's blocking this yellow face as well. I can't quite see what it is. What is blocking that? Because it's not turning. Maybe it's just me and it should be turning. I don't know. That's fine. Oh, there we go. That's good. That's good. Now I've forgotten the other face that I was trying to make turn. Was it the pink face? This is really, really strange. I think I'm always going to have this trapezium type piece, that gold trapezium there, above a center, I think, by the look of it, if things are going to be turning. Or am I? Because that is not a trapezium. But that is, okay. Interesting. And remember, this is supposed to be the easier of the two. I reckon that's lined up. Let's take this systematically. If I take the white piece as my white face as my top face, I think that's looking good. Let's start with the red. That's looking okay, I think, I'm pretty sure. The blue, yes, the light blue. Which sort of comes around. It looks like it wants to turn. And I'm trying to turn the face there. It does turn. Is it aligned with this? It is. Okay, the light blue is fine. The problem is every time I try and do this, I get lost as to where I was. The purple, that's fine. Well, this is going to be interesting when I do come to try and solve it. I'm just working out initially what's supposed to be aligned where. I said it was a master. I said it was a dodecahedron. The thing that it most reminds me of is a gigaminx. And give me 2 ticks, I'm going to find my own gigaminx and try and compare it. Well, here's a gigaminx that I have already, and you can see the same sort of thing. It's got the 12 faces, but it's got this master layer, this slice layer, if you like. If it's the same kind of thing, I should expect between the 2 centers some sort of edge piece and then 2 pieces joining onto the centers. So there's an orange center, there's a blue center, yep, there's the edge piece, and there's those 2 pieces joining. If I look somewhere else, between the blue and the white, it looks like I've got this yellow gold edge piece, although clearly it's oriented weirdly. And then I've got this little white piece and this grey piece here. So I'm pretty confident in saying it is some kind of gigaminx. The only thing that I can think, you know what, I remember years back just having a think about this. There was a puzzle that got released, mass produced, called Eitan's Twist. And that was sort of a twisted 3 by 3 if I remember. I wonder if this is some sort of twisted gigaminx. That's probably the best I can come up with. I don't know any names of puzzles that, I mean, unless it's called the Twisted Gigaminx. That's the best I've got. So that's what I think this puzzle is. Now, I'm going to, again, I can see that this is going to turn really nicely, but it is going to need to have stuff aligned properly. And that, to me, I think is going to be the biggest challenge initially, is just because by the looks of it, you're going to have different pieces. I've already talked about how they sort of jut out here and they indented here. In some senses, that's going to make it easier, I think, because let's say that I'm solving a white center here, and how would I solve the gigaminx? Normally, I would basically do the surrounding parts of this white center, the inner parts, I suppose. And so what I'm going to find is that all the pieces must sit flush around that. So if I think that there's a white piece that belongs here, say, where that blue piece is, and it's not actually the correct piece, it may belong here or something. And I think I'm going to be told that by how it is sitting. That's my suspicion. Don't know if it's true, but that's what I think is going on. One little thing here, I guess, again, if I just put this gigaminx back into the frame, you can see a piece like that yellow pink piece there. I'm going, do I have some sort of analogous piece on this puzzle? The only one that I can see, really, I mean, there are a couple of options for pieces with two colours. It's either that sort of piece or that edge piece. And if, let's get that out of the way, if that, or is it? I just want to make sure that this white, just about finished this one, but I want to make sure that the white is, it is correctly turnable, and I think that's lined up properly. Is this a corner or something? I have a feeling that might be a corner. Because just looking at it, you can see here's a center, there's the pieces joining the center, then I've got a white purple and a white blue next to it, and then the pieces on either side, that pink yellow and the purple white, on the normal gigaminx, they are the outer corners. That is really strange if they are the corners. Anyway, how did I do? Did I have any clue what I was talking about? That is mystery puzzle number 1. And now we have mystery puzzle number 2. And again, this has come in a clearly scrambled state. Here's the information I've been given about mystery puzzle 2. The first thing was Eitan said, I also have no doubts that you will be able to solve number 2. But if I say anything else about it, for example, why I'm so certain, I'll give it away. Okay, that's cryptic. What else have we got? I'm sending this one in a scrambled state. This will be much more of a challenge than mystery puzzle number 1. I think you'll like this one a lot more too. And that's it. Well, to me that tells me obviously it's going to be harder than a gigaminx type solve, which probably means it's some kind of, I would guess it's going to have jumbling in it. Now the other little piece of information that I have gleaned is that originally when I was talking about the sorts of puzzles that he had made that I might be interested in, there were a couple of puzzles that I had on my list which have not appeared as named puzzles in this box. And those two puzzles were the Celtic Cube and the Radio Cube 3. And so part of me is wondering if one of them, and obviously hoping, if one of these mystery puzzles is either of those cubes. And so just looking at this initially, I mean, I don't know much about either of them, but I do remember that the Radio Cube 3, and I think I've got a couple of other transformations of the Radio Cube. They are actually transformations of a face-turning icosahedron. And if I'm not mistaken, it's all related to the same sort of thing as Eitan's star. And perhaps that's what he's talking about as to why he's pretty sure that I'll be able to solve it because I've solved Eitan star. Okay, maybe I have no clue whatsoever. Anyway, just looking at this, it's not only clearly scrambled, it's quite difficult to even get anything to turn. I don't mean the turning quality is bad. I mean, you know, sometimes when you get to these states and there's only one layer that will turn for you. That's sort of what I'm finding here. Let's see if I can find something that will turn. Oh, hello. Okay, so I've got, just looking at that, I mean, I have no idea if this is supposed to be a cubic shape, if it's supposed to be a dodecahedral shape, something else. If it was a cubic shape, I was going to say I wouldn't expect a sort of a corner position to be in the center of a turn, but then again, I've definitely had that before and it doesn't discount it. I used to have the Copter and I don't know that that did exactly the same thing, but it was the same sort of idea. So I've got to turn there. Now the question for me is, I can see that there's another one here potentially that will line up a cut, but whether that's going to turn straight away, no, it's not. Is there something, oh, here's another one that's turning. So this is how my brain's working. When I turn this one, I'm looking at the piece that stays stationary and I can see it's this corner piece here. That's not moving anywhere, it's just rotating in place. All the other pieces are moving around. So initially I think, well, that's weird. I've got a corner in a sort of a center position. If I come up to the other face here that turned, I'm using the word face, I don't necessarily mean face, I just mean the thing that's turning. This time there's no corner, there's this little triangle in the center there. But that's clearly something that needs to turn, and then I've got a corner here and here. Is that one part of this face? No. So it's only one corner that's sitting here. Now I don't even know if I've aligned that correctly with some other face. So I suppose if I was looking for this sort of face to turn as well, I'd want to be making sure that it looked at least like it was aligned. That sort of looks aligned to me. It's probably not. And it may not even be possible for me to, where am I going to turn this face? What's the center of it? Is it, I don't even know. I mean, that looks the best so far, but you can see that is clearly in the way and nothing here that I can see is going to turn. This part's turning. What bit is going to turn here? It again looks to me like if it's following the same sort of thing, there's a corner in the center position. Perhaps that yellow piece there is what I'm looking for. That looks to be lined up. If I follow this around, that's clearly not lined up. So I'm going to guess that this is some kind of jumbling puzzle, again, just based on past experience, and also because I've got, it looks to me like two bits that are different piece types performing the same function, as in some bits the center is in, or the corner is in that center position, other times it's not a corner. And I know that sometimes happens with jumbling puzzles. Wow. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to finding out what it is, but I'm not sure that I know. Let's try and put those clues together. The only other thing I remember thinking when I did look at those two puzzles, the Celtic Cube and the Radio Cube 3. So one of the differences that I saw was that the Celtic Cube had corners which were symmetrical, or they appeared to be symmetrical. The Radio Cube did not. So the Radio Cube's corners were not cubic, if that makes sense. So they were sort of angled here. So you can see the shape of that blue sticker is a bit more like a kite. That's a bit of a, in fact, all three of them sort of look like kites. I don't see any corners that look like cubes. And so if that's the case, that if this is the radio cube 3, this is some sort of transformation of what's equivalent to Eitan star. So if this was the radio cube 3, from memory, that radio cube 3 is essentially a face-turning icosahedron, and I've got to remember that's what Eitan star was. Face-turning icosahedron, but it's been transformed into a cube shape. So if it was a cube shape, then I'd expect there to be 8 of these corners. So that's one thing I can count. Are there 8 corners? 1, 2, 3, very close to each other. Let's put them there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you know what? I don't reckon I can see any more. So that doesn't discount the fact that it may be the Celtic cube or something completely different, but things seem to be lining up here. So I'm going to guess that this is the radio cube 3, which would be absolutely awesome if it was. So let me go and have a quick look at the museum entry to see how I did. All right, I'm back and I think I'm right. So what the museum entry on the Twisty Puzzles forum says is that there are 2 different types of twists. And I'm going to take that to mean that one, you know, when you see one turn with the corner in the center, that's one type. And you see another turn with, say, one of these triangle pieces in the center. That's the second type. I wonder if I can even get one of these working. Is that one of them? Yeah, so that's the 2 types of twists. Again, just looking at the picture of the cube on my screen, I'm a little bit more confident now that this is the radio cube 3. So, wow, awesome if it is. And let's see how we go with that when I get to actually trying to solve it. Well, here we've got the 9th of the 9 puzzles, the last of them, and this one is called the Ziggurat. And I'm going to confess up front here, I have basically no idea what is going on with this. The only thing I've been told, it started with this, and now for something completely different. Okay, yep. Ziggurat is a puzzle that I co-designed with Bram Cohen last year. So this is the one puzzle that you can get if you want, and I'm going to provide a link in the description for how you do that. These are not the only colours that it comes in, so it comes in, you can have colours of your choice, or I don't know, one colour or whatever, but that'll all be on the site which is linked. Now it came to me with these 2 pieces like this. This was not broken off, so I've just managed to do that myself. That's how good I am. And it also came sort of sitting in here. You can see where this is broken off, and so this has got little caps on it, and I now can't really get it back in, which possibly is one of the first things I should have done anyway, to try and get it out of here. So I'm not sure if this is just a stand or if this is part of the solve. Initially, I had no understanding of even what to do here, and I had to email Eitan and say, what am I actually supposed to do? And this was his response. The goal is to take it apart and put it back together. And these things are shipped with 6 pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. I can count. Once you understand the puzzle, you've got the 2 extra pieces that I had here to add in to it. So take it apart and put it back together. And I was still going, but how? What do? You don't twist anything. What do you move? And finally, I think I figured out that you slide things. If I can make that happen again. Is it up here, is it? I don't even know. You can see that's, I'm pretty sure I had it on the top. Had it sliding around on the top. Let me see. Although that one's the one that keeps. You see what I mean? I've got no real clue. So this, if I slide that to there, then that will slide down there. Now I can put that back, but then that is locked. The purple one is locked out of place there. And to get that to lock back in, I've got to move the blue. I've got to move the blue all the way over to here. Then I can push it in and push that back. So I think I've finally figured out what is going on. But I can't, if I put that back there, oh. Okay. across, down, across, down, across, down, stuck. Anything, oh, hello. How do I get back? I'm going to cross, down, across, down, across, down, stuck, I think. So down, across, down, across, down, across. When I say down, obviously I'm reversing it, so that means up. All right, I've got slightly more of an idea. Really, he should have sent me one just with 2 pieces. I might have had a chance. So I guess what I'm supposed to be doing here is, with all these bits, is keep moving everything until they all start coming apart, and then the whole lot is disassembled. That's my presumption here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that's blocked, but maybe that means, so that then moves. That will come back. Wow. This puzzle's cooler than I first thought, but it's still going to cause me a humongous headache. I'm not good at puzzles like this. This is some sort of, I think it's a logic type puzzle. I don't know. And I'm sure there's going to be some sort of connection with these little bits here, as in the one that I managed to break off, which I will super glue back on very soon to its position. Thankfully, if I'm looking at it, I think that's only going to affect going back into here at the end. So that, to my understanding, is what's going on with this puzzle. It's sort of a sliding, interlocking puzzle. I've been told that you can take this apart in 109 moves. Having said that, I've also been told that by Eitan that once you get a hang of it, he can do it in under 30 seconds. Well, I guess I can kind of see that. If you figure out what's going on, it's just, look, I'm a genius. Maybe that will happen to me, I don't know. It would be very interesting to me to see if there's some sort of pattern in the number of moves that it takes for the number of, what do they call these things? Tiles or whatever. So that's the Ziggurat. And as I said, it's got the 2 extra pieces. You can get them in whatever colors you like. If you're interested in that, and I'm sure some people will, go click that link in the description. Now this is a little bit of an epilogue to this video, as if it's not long enough. There are 2 other puzzles that I already have, which are Eitan's puzzles. The first one here is one that he was originally saying that he should definitely send over before I said, oh, hang on, I've actually got that one. And this is the Master Face Turning Rhombic Dodecahedron. This turns beautifully, and I've had this for quite a few years. And this was printed and dyed and assembled by 𝙏𝙄𝙈𝙄𝙉𝙂 back in the day. And this is the sort of puzzle which is a fantastic upgrade from something like a rhombic dodecahedron. I do have a walkthrough solve on my channel somewhere, so I'll try and remember to link to that. This is one of them. Let me show you the other one. And of course there's more than 2. There's the Eitan star as well, but here's the other one that I got made with Eitan's permission by 𝙏𝙄𝙈𝙄𝙉𝙂𝙎 a few years back. And this is called Pascal's Jumble. This is a brilliant puzzle, and anyone who knows about Pascal's triangle can see what's going on. You've got 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, etc. How do you get these numbers? In case you don't know, you're essentially just adding the 2 numbers directly above, and there's your result. So 5 plus 10 gives you the 15, 15 plus 6 gives you the 21, all the way down. Now, I don't know, looking at this, I think it's in a solved state. I was just looking at the one there, which seems to be a little bit curved, but you know what, I'm looking at it now, and I think that sticker previously has come off, and I've stuck it back not quite right, because that one seems fine. So that one should be essentially pointing upwards. But from memory, I have not quite solved this. It's a very difficult puzzle, and this one, we think, jumbles. So Pascal's Jumble is the name of the puzzle, and it's obviously a different puzzle again. And when you start turning the circles, if I can get these, there we go, that's how they normally turn. That is going like, and that'll then turn, maybe this one's a bit too tight, that circle, I'm not sure. I'll show you another one. Here we go. That's what's going there, and then I can do this. But so far, all of these things have just sort of matched up. The jumbling aspect to it is something like, if I can make this work, you can see that has turned around to there. If I can then turn that off, now, let's have a look. You can see that it's essentially upset the balance of all the circles and stuff does not sit properly. So this is why it's called Pascal's Jumble. A brilliant puzzle, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, just trying to go through a whole bunch of these things that I've been sent. I'm not entirely sure yet which ones I might be able to buy, but I'm certainly looking forward to doing as many souls as I can in the time that I've got. Huge thanks for Eitan for sending these things over. That's just a reminder of the scale of this puzzle and the monster that it is. I've really enjoyed doing this video. If you've watched the whole way through, thank you very much. And thanks to Eitan for sending them over. Looking forward to solving them. Looking forward to getting my head a little bit exploded again. As always, thanks for watching.